if you want to achieve anything in life, you have to be okay with boredom. I don't really see life, for me, worth living if it doesn't involve creativity.
Welcome to Stories of Creativity. I'm your host, Joe Vertis, and today we're continuing the interview with Dr. Tibra Ali. In part 3, Tibra talks about the nature of creativity, the limits and potentials of artificial intelligence, his creative dreams for the future, and he shares advice for people interested in developing creatively in the field of physics. Enjoy this final part of our interview. What are the most valuable things you've learned about yourself through your creative activities?
I guess one of the big things that I've learned is that I really like teaching and I really like mentoring. I've kind of come to embrace not knowing, and I learn a lot from my students. Even when I make mistakes in class, these days I embrace it as a teaching moment. I kind of ask my students to help me figure out what the right answer is. So I think that, that's something I discovered about myself, is that I really, really like teaching and mentoring. Also, I just like creative pursuits. I mean, I don't really see life, for me, worth living if it doesn't involve creativity or appreciation of nature, appreciation of beauty. For me, those are the, highest values that I aspire to.
I relate with that a lot. As you know, I feel that we are creative beings as humans, and arguably we can't even fully know ourselves if we aren't experiencing our creative selves to some degree. So I really hold that as a high value as well. What are some of the most valuable things you've learned about creativity itself through either your work in it or what you've learned from others?
I don't know if I know about creativity that much. I just know that I like creating. And in some sense, creativity is not a prescription. It is a form of heuristics. It's a fascinating question, because we are at a moment in history where people are asking whether artificial intelligence is creative, right? Mm-hmm. Whether eventually artists, that AI will produce paintings which are better than human beings. And I kind of think that we are, in asking those kind of questions, those are very important questions, but I don't know if I want to know what creativity is. I just want to kind of have an intuitive understanding of it. Because to create is what's pleasurable, not to understand how it works.
Makes sense.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, you enjoy the creative process, and through the enjoyment, because you enjoy, you're watching yourself creating something, so you understand something about the creative process. That's very, very important. That's something you understand. And also, but to dissect it and to kind of come up with an algorithm for creativity, it seems like that would be self-defeating, because and that's exactly the kind of thing that people think they're doing with AI, right? Because you tell them to produce a painting and they just do it, right? And I think there's a lot of mimicry there, but I don't think it's creativity as humans understand, or the creativity is not just the act of producing. It is not just the end product. It's also the subjective experience. It's also the life of the mind that leads to that creative, final product, right? So, and I think that is what's missing from AI. That's what's missing from AI, because we know that we may not know exactly what's happening inside the machine because it is so complex, but we know that it's an algorithm that can be reduced to a certain process.
Mm-hmm.
And so the famous philosopher, I think it was Searle, he had this thought experiment, because he was, and it was like, suppose you have a Western scientist or a Western person in a room and they do not understand Chinese, but it's a locked room and there's a window through which instructions come in, and they're written in Chinese. It doesn't have to be Chinese. It's some language that person doesn't understand. And then that person has like a book, and the book is a book of instructions. Like, if the characters look like this, you do this. So by looking up in the book, that person produces a response to this query, which came in a language that he or she didn't understand, right? And then they produce this answer, and then they put it out. So now the question is, was there did somebody actually understand what was asked and what the answer is? And in this case, it would appear that the answer is no. So there was no, and AI is a bit like that. And so when AI is producing an artwork, is there a process? So, is there a self-conscious process that's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that we feel the pleasure, it's not just what we are producing, but the reflection,
Mm-hmm.
the long walks, the conversation, the struggles, I mean, those are also part of what we are producing.
Absolutely, right.
Although it may be forgotten, but it leaves its imprint on it. And I think
Right.
that's something that is missing from AI.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree with you. I think as humans, we're sensitive and we recognize the spark of human inspiration. And like you're saying, the struggles, the suffering, the whatever human experience is behind the work of art. We recognize, the fingerprints of a maker, of a creator. Yeah, the spirit or the life of the person who made it. And when a computer generated it through an algorithmic process, we aren't touched by it in
I
the
mean, I
same
think
way.
we may even, not in the same way. We may still be touched by it, but not in the same way,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not saying that sentience is not possible in computer. It may be, at some point it may happen, but I don't think it's there. We are there yet. There might be one day. There might be, robots or artificial intelligence which has a rich inner life, which is, conscious in the same way that we are. But I don't think what we are calling AI is that yet.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It just seems like life is too short for all the creative things that one wants to do, right?
Yes. What are some of the creative things that you would like to do that you haven't had time to do yet?
Well, there are things that I know I will not do, although I would like to do them, is make a movie, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's really one of the things. I would still like to write fiction. I have some half-written drafts. And yeah, so those are and then, I really do want to do much else, and of course physics. So I think, physics and some maybe fiction and poetry maybe. So it would be, when I was a kid, I used to love movies and still do, but I don't watch them that often anymore. Because well, I guess there are too many cheaper distractions, right? So like Netflix and stuff. I mean, I don't know if I can call them movies. Um, so yeah, I guess so. I guess that's it. Like, if I could, um, I, I, I guess sometimes, it would be nice to be able to garden and stuff like that. But one of the things that I would like to do is I would like to live in a natural setting, in a sort of in a cottage or something like that, in a forest or in a beautiful setting, where it would just like, I could take walks every day, and then, come back and work, say in a little cottage or something. That would be very nice, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. So
I have a similar dream.
yeah.
Yeah. What's the smallest creative project you've ever done, and what was rewarding about doing something that tiny?
I think what is small, I mean, writing a short poem is a small project, right?
Yeah.
So I've written like very small poems, and I think it's fun. But to do something well, if you want to write a really nice short poem, it's not easier than writing a very good long poem. I mean, what you're looking for, you're basically, it's alchemy, right? You're turning words into something that transcends words, transcends everyday meaning. And that is always going to be very, very difficult, right? So yeah, it's just like, I think, I wrote a very short poem which I really liked, and that was the shortest thing I ever did. So
actually, one of your short poems is you contributed it for my book, and I love it. The one about walking
about
and
dogs.
yes.
About
Yeah.
a dream I had.
Yes.
Yes.
Those
Okay. Yeah,
those
thank
little
you.
short poems are like jewels, they're like tiny,
No, thank
tiny,
you.
beautiful things. Yeah. I
Yeah,
love it.
I don't think I don't think I have the capacity or the stamina to write long poems. So
Yeah, I understand. Well, is there any advice you would give to someone who wants to get started being creative within the field of theoretical physics?
all right, so that's a very, very hard question. So I would say, become disciplined. And discipline doesn't mean that you are working all the time. Discipline means that, dedicate regular amount of time to your pursuit. And if you want to become creative in theoretical physics, that, by which I mean that you want to be taken seriously by your fellow theoretical physicists, you have to be good. You have to be able to do so, like, you don't have to be like the greatest or anything, but you have to be able to match a certain level, right? So that means that you have to actually learn the trade,
Right.
So I think that, so learn the basics, very thoroughly, make sure you don't, you don't, like I actually do get a lot of students who want to have, dream of being a physicist, but when I give them assignments, they don't do the assignments. And for me, it's like, so one thing that I say a lot in class is that, if you want to achieve anything in life, you have to be okay with boredom.
Yeah.
You really, if you are like, okay, I love physics, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to watch YouTube videos all day. Then of course you won't be quote unquote bored, because you're watching this bite-sized, this 15-minute long videos that are extremely well made, has a lot of insights, but at the end of the day, you actually just have a vague outline of the field. If I give you a certain problem to solve, that soon won't be able to solve it. So they're better off, spending, struggling with their assignments and, trying to solve those. Of course, talking to their friends, talking to their teachers about how to do that, then, watching these videos all the time. So I guess, my advice would be that be okay with boredom. Be okay, be with learning difficult things. The creative life is not an easy life. If you want to be creative, if you want to create something, you have to become disciplined. You have to put in the hours. You have to learn the skills of how to create, right? And then, like, see what attracts you, and see what you're good at. Do what you're good at, I mean, Cal Newport actually gives an advice, which is that he says, don't follow your passion. Do what you're good at, or and then you will find that you will find something that you're passionate about, and you will be able to create something nice, right? So if you're passionate about something, but you don't have the skill, or you're not willing to put in the work, that's not going to help, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I also tell them, I tell them that it's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to feel, that you're going to have mental health struggles, and it's okay to do that. And they are, and when they come to me and with their mental health issues or struggles, I try to help them. So it's just like, I'm not saying it's going to be an easy ride, right? But you have to be willing to, take on that challenge, right? So,
yeah, absolutely. Good advice.
Yeah.
Tibra, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It was lovely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this. Have a beautiful day with your creativity, my friend. See you next time. Bye.